exciting. Hair is cut at the hairdresser's. This was a sentence from a course book called Streamline that was very popular about 20 years ago. Let me tell you why I think it's a wonderful sentence. Michael Lewis, the grammarian, suggested that teaching materials contained two different kinds of sentence. They contained examples of possible English and probable English, or impossible English and improbable English. This is a fantastic example of possible English, i.e. it is grammatically sound. It's an entirely good grammatical sentence, so totally possible English. And yet, it is a totally improbable piece of English. Because if you think about it, you can't think of anywhere in the whole of human life, apart from the language classroom, where you could ever say that sentence. You know, you go to the restaurant with your friend. Hello, nice to see you. By the way, did you know hair is cut at the hairdresser's? So, a piece of possible but totally improbable language. Course books used to be full of sentences like that. I attended a talk at ITEFL by Scott Thornbury, where he had some wonderful examples of possible but improbable language, including the sentences, my finger is on your nose. Your head is under my foot. As I say, there used to be lots of these, and we're so lucky that nowadays our course books are filled with realistic examples of language. Language that is both possible and probable, and that's so much more useful for students. Although it has to be said that it's quite a memorable sentence, though. I'm still looking for a way that I can drop this into a conversation one day. I'm sure I'll get a chance sometime. Technology. Just a few quick thoughts about technology. Technology and the future. Technology is coming in. The technology is here to stay. I think in Europe, we suddenly came to the tipping point. You know, the tipping point where it seems to be about to change for a long time, seems to be about to change, and then suddenly it changes. All my career, there's been this promise that technology was going to be big. All my career, they were saying, oh, computers, they're going to be massive in education. And year by year, they never were. Year by year, that promise never came true. Until suddenly, about 2 years ago, suddenly everything changed. It looked like, you know, nobody in Britain had interactive whiteboards. And then suddenly, everybody has interactive whiteboards. Students didn't have access to computers. Suddenly students have computers in classrooms and they have them at home. Suddenly internet access became broadband and fast. It was possible to connect to people around the world. Now, I don't know if you've reached that point in Peru yet, but from what I understand, yeah? You're there? You're getting there? You're already there, okay. This change has been very, very sudden, and it put a lot of pressure on teachers who don't feel so confident with the technology. Suddenly, we're having to learn about technology, we're having to get up to date, we're having to get confident with very, very different ways of working. So I think technology is here to stay, which means that our teaching is suddenly going to need to start changing substantially. We're going to need to start becoming familiar with using the internet in English language classes. Not just printing off something in the staff room and bringing it on paper to class, but actually making active use of internet in lessons. We're going to need to start using tools and sites, things like Audacity, things like Twitter, things like Facebook, things like Second Life. These are all things that have massive potential that is only just beginning to be investigated. And if they're not big now, they will be big in just a few years' time. But this does give a problem, and I think that there are dangers. And my biggest worry is that teachers start to make their PowerPoint presentations and they put them on the computer, and then what do they do in class? They just stand there and they press the button. And they become not teachers, but the operators of a slideshow. I think this is a real danger. I've seen lessons like this, where teachers put all their work into the preparation of the lesson. They've made beautiful slides with wonderful pictures and extremely good examples. But in class, they stop teaching. They just press the button. and the slideshow does the work. And I wonder if that's the future. I hope it isn't. But students can do that at home. It takes me back to my opening question of what's the point of a teacher? Is it just to operate a slideshow? I don't think so. We have to find a way to use the technology, not let the technology